Europe, stretching from the Atlantic to the Urals, woven together over centuries by history, politics, and Christianity. Cathedrals, churches, chapels, monasteries, and abbeys were erected across the continent, bringing together the arts, science, and culture. Over the course of time, communities of monks and nuns breathed life into these iconic monuments. Are these historic sites now museums, or do religious people still live in them? Who are these men and women who in the 21st century choose to retreat into monasteries? If each step is a dream on the road to wisdom, our journeys are a modern pilgrimage bringing unexpected encounters on a voyage of discovery around timeless monasteries that are sometimes majestic, often inaccessible, but always mysterious. Monasteries of pilgrimage, monasteries of memories, monasteries beside water, monasteries out of the ordinary, and those that are hidden away at the ends of the earth. From Ireland to Russia, from Greece to Poland, communities of monks and nuns, both Catholic and Orthodox, offer us a glimpse of their private worlds, sometimes allowing us into their cells, and as their songs echo around us, they share the secrets of their spirituality as witnesses to the invisible.
We are in Armenia, a country which shares borders with Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Iran. In the 20th century, the Armenian people lived under communist rule for 70 years. We are traveling to the monastery of Sv.Gregori of Tatev, 300 kilometers from the capital Yerevan. It was one of the most important spiritual and cultural sites in the country. We have chosen to come here because Tatev is unique in Europe. Normally, monasteries are made up of communities of monks and nuns. But here, there is just a single monk, Father Michael, living and carrying out his religious duties in this place.
The patron saint of our monastery, Gregory of Tatev, is one of the most remarkable saints in the Armenian Church. He is known as the priest of the three lights. My parents were honest religious people. After we left school, all three of us went on to study mathematics at university. The lighted candle represents our Lord Jesus Christ. Jesus is the light of the world, and the candle, like him, lights everything around it. And at the same time, it is being used up. Jesus died on the cross. He was consumed by divine love. But in so doing, he became the light of the world. Saint Gregory of Narek is our greatest poet. His collection, the Book of Lamentations, is the prayer book of the Armenian people. Saint Narek also called it words to God from the depths of the heart. He translated the prayers that came from the depths of the Armenian soul. Saint Gregory of Tatev said that man has three kinds of vision: one with the eyes, one with the mind, and finally one with the soul. We can only see what is in our field of vision. But the eyes of the soul are capable of perceiving things that the eyes of the mind and the body cannot see. It is said that a monk enters the desert. This means that he gets rid of all the preoccupations and thoughts that still bind him to the earth. In 1995, when I was a student at university, I went on a pilgrimage on foot with a group of friends from Etchmiadzin to Tatev, some 300 kilometers. It took 10 days. When I saw Tatev for the first time, it made a big impact on me, like a heavenly mystery. After my ordination to the priesthood, I asked for the blessing of the Patriarch to come and serve at Tatev, and he agreed. In the same way that a doctor can save a person's body, a monk can save his soul. Even the most confirmed non-believer one day asks himself the question, what is the meaning of life?
Պահպանի չէ հույս հավատացելոց Քրիստոս Աստված, պահպանյա եւ օրհնյա սուխտավոր զաղախինս, ընդհանրյա սուրբ եւ պատվակա խաչի վտքովի խաղացյալ, աման փորի որդվո եւ օքին սրբով, շատ սիրով ընտանուք էին, ամենակալ.
These people are an ordinary Armenian family whose baby had a medical problem while still in the womb, and the doctors were not sure if she would survive.
Հույս չէին տալի բժիշկները, որ երեխան կծնվեր. Զուխտավորս ծառայիսկ, ընդհանրյա սուրբ եւ պատվակա խաչի վտքովի խաղացյալ, փերիկյա, ազատյա, հերևերի եւ հաներուի տշնավույն արժան.
Afterwards, the husband began to have health problems, causing him to suffer from breathing difficulties and fainting episodes. They went to see various doctors and psychologists, but none of the treatments he received produced any positive results.
Мы в Татев приехали за помощью. We came to Tatev to ask for help. Father Mikhail is helping us to get over the distress that we have experienced since the birth of our daughter. She was born prematurely with a deformity in her diaphragm. Shortly afterwards, my husband became ill. Normally he is strong, but he suffered a lot and it affected him a great deal. Once again, we asked God for help. I was telling one of our neighbors about the problems we were having, and by chance she told me about Father Mikhail and said I should go to Tatev immediately. Today, after being here for 2 days and having had 2 meetings with Father Mikhail, we have started to feel calmer again.
When I met Father Mikhail, I immediately felt calmed. I found my inner strength again. I felt light. Before, I couldn't breathe properly. I feel calm. I feel alive again.
In 1915, Turkish troops carried out one of the first genocides of the modern era against the Armenians.
Christianity and Islam are totally different in essence. Christianity is a religion of the spirit, of charity and of love. Islam has an altogether more practical aspect to it. This is why Christianity and Islam could never become one religion. Our thoughts and our attitudes are different. But we must try to become reconciled to each other. How? By following what Jesus told us: forgive and love your enemy. The 3 vows that we take of poverty, obedience, and chastity are the monk's constant companions. The most difficult is the vow of chastity. When you are young, you have to stay committed to this vow, not only in body, but also in your heart and in your thoughts. St. Gregory of Tatev said that God made man to be joyful, happy, serene, and to experience moments of the awareness and acceptance of eternity. Our ancestor Adam lost this blissful state, and it's very difficult to get it back. Our lives seem like a permanent struggle to recapture it. When we finally get there, after the long struggle, we understand that we have only been alive for a tiny little fraction of eternity. No, I'm not afraid of death. My mother had a beautiful singing voice, but my father couldn't sing for toffee.
Deep in the heart of the steep gorges of the Hérault lies the village of Saint-Guilhem-le-Désert, one of the most beautiful villages in France and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was in the year 804 that the knight Guillaume d'Orange, Duke of Aquitaine, returned from war and, grieving inconsolably for the death of his wife, decided to become a monk and to found a hermitage in an isolated place, in a desert that stretched for 7 leagues in all directions, at the ends of the earth, as we still say today. In his honor, his cousin Charlemagne sent him 2 precious relics of the Holy Cross of Christ, which brought crowds of pilgrims. And the abbey became, and remains to this day, an important staging post on the Santiago de Compostela pilgrimage route. In the monastic world, many Carmelites lived in a cloistered contemplative life, withdrawn from society. The St. Joseph Carmelites are a female religious order established in the 19th century by Léontine Jarre. Today, the order has 29 communities in 11 countries throughout the world, in Asia, in Africa, and in Europe. The nuns come from 13 different countries and live together in a community, although no longer behind closed doors. Carmelites released from captivity. There are 8 of us nuns here, with 5 different nationalities. So we have 1 sister from the Congo, 1 from Vietnam, 1 from Madagascar, 1 Lebanese sister, and the others are French. They say we make a lovely community with our strong characters.
In practice, it's like a family life, in the sense that we talk to one another. We discuss things with one another, and we argue with one another.
I'm amazed by the things that my sisters do, the things that they are capable of what we are capable of going through together. And I think that it's this common experience that binds us together, and which tells us that there is one among us.
It's not something you decide on in an instant. Well, not for me in any case. I'd never even thought about a religious life before the age of 25, maybe 22. Because I found the religious life off-putting. Becoming a nun, I would have said, definitely not.
The decision, or rather the response from my father and mother, so my mother is an emotional person, she had already prepared a bottom drawer for me, and so it wasn't easy for her. And she kicked up a real fuss. She shouted, she cried, she showed all her emotions. But I remember the moment my father gave me his response. He looked at me and he said, "If that is your path, who am I to stand in God's way?"
The St. Joseph Carmelites were a very open congregation. I had an idea of them in mind, like everyone does. Nuns, people who go into a religious order, they see God and they are a certain way. There's something about it. In my case, there wasn't any special feeling. I can't say that there was a calling at a given moment. No, not at all. And when I arrived here, like all the pilgrims, the people who come here, you're really taken with the place. It's incredible, and I said to myself, wow, this place is made specifically to catch novices. Unbelievable. And then you discover the abbey.
In addition to their life of prayer, all the nuns have to carry out other activities. Here in Saint-Guilhem-le-Désert, some of them are responsible for welcoming pilgrims and taking care of the accommodation. Others work in the bookshop or on the website. Others are chaplains and teachers at a prison, and one of them is a physiotherapist in a hospital. Sometimes they go abroad on missions in other communities run by the order. I'm a physiotherapist and I work part-time at Montpellier University Hospital. When I was working in geriatrics in Lyon, I used to see people every day who were in for at least a month, so you really had the time to get to know each other a bit. One day, there was a gentleman who said to me, "So are you a part-time nun and a part-time physio?" And I was straight back at him, "So are you a part-time husband then?" A few months later, he said to me that I had really taught him something, because it's true, I'm not a part-time nun or a part-time physio. No, it's a state of being. I'm a nun wherever I go. And so I have my job, and there's a life here in the community which is important, and there's a life of prayer which takes up quite a bit of time in the day.
When I'm praying, I like to keep my hands open because I say, "Here I am before you. All my life is in these hands. I see the good as well as the bad. It's up to you to decide." Then I try to compose myself in such a way that I allow him space in my heart, and I search for him inside myself, because that is where he is. And it's from this starting point that he will guide me towards others.
The impact of God in our lives. Right now I've come to a point where I can say to myself, I can find him in others. I believe very strongly in the presence of God in each person, whatever their religion. That's the essence of the spiritual struggle, to erase the me in order to find him, to make room for him. We just need to empty everything else out. That is what is asked of us. A spiritual life is like a big clear-out.
The search for God is something that comes back time and time again. We see it in society today, where it's become a consumer society, but where, on the other hand, there's still a lot of searching for something spiritual. This isn't necessarily directed towards Christianity, at least not in France. Many people are turning towards Buddhism, towards different types of wisdom, but I think it's because they haven't really found Christianity inside themselves in their hearts. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Giving up marriage, giving up having children, there are times when it's more difficult than others. We're still women, and so there are times when you're alone in your room, in your bed, and it's difficult. You feel the need for some tenderness, which just isn't there.
After Vespers, I make time twice a week for exercise classes. So now I go to the gym. You realize that we are physical beings, and our bodies are part of our lives, and I think we need to take care of them. It also means that we get out among people from the village and other people from around here at the same time. So it's not just people from the village.
I think that a pilgrim is someone who has left their safe place, left what he knows, and who is going to the unknown and whatever is awaiting them. Some of them call themselves hikers, but they are pilgrims, and they just don't know it. If I ask them, "What made you set off on this journey?" they raise their eyes to heaven, and they say, well, they won't put a name to it.
This helps us to see how loose we can make our jaws. For example, if we go...
We decided as a community to work on our singing with Jordi. So we have singing practice for 1 hour where we work together. We go over things and he points out the problems.
And the same with an O. Let's go.
Singing, for me, it's like being naked, completely naked. It has its own truth, just allowing your voice to come out.
Can I sing something else? I don't live far from the monastery, a few kilometers from here. When I arrived here, we were put in touch with each other very quickly. The monastic community and me. It's a community that changes frequently, with different elements coming and going. I found it extremely interesting, this idea of living a life of contemplation, but living it connected with the world. I told you I was going to switch the lights on just before. And the trust they have in me allowing me into this place, which is dedicated to singing, which by its nature requires a certain amount of intimacy, intimate work with their voices. And I found that they wanted to push themselves in their spiritual life and be really involved in something, even if it's just a village at the end of a tract that we call the ends of the earth. We are at the end of something all the same.
Compagne, si sabe un dorme y una blanca.
Écoute, j'ai cru que j'allais pas sortir, l'échelle se coinçait. Allez, bah dis donc, il fait beau aujourd'hui.
Actually, I'm not afraid. I'm used to it because I used to climb trees back home.
It's true we have to cross over the whole roof of the church. It can be quite intimidating. Here in this abbey, there are these oculi. They're enclosed by a pane of glass. This filters the light entering the church. And so if we want to let in the beautiful sunlight, we have to remove this opaque glass and replace it with a grille. And there, the light can get through and the rays reach as far as the font at the back. We say that the people who come here leave with something different from what they were expecting.
The sky, the clouds, and the light all change according to the will of the wind across an ocean of green, the timeless character of Ireland. The impressive Abbey of Mount Melleray stands on the slopes of the Knockmeal Down Mountains, surrounded by the pasture land and forests of southeast Ireland. This Cistercian monastery was founded in 1832 by Irish monks returning from France, where they had sought refuge in the Breton monastery of Melleray, hence the name Mount Melleray. It was the first abbey founded in Ireland after the Protestant Reformation. Today, this Irish monastery is a symbol to which the region and its inhabitants remain very attached.
Bob, and this is Bill. Bill is the small guy, but he always comes first, and this Bob follows. But Bob then pushes his weight around a bit. Why do I keep the donkeys? Well, the donkeys were given to me as a present, and there was always a donkey where I was brought up, and he was part of the place and part of almost the family. And the donkeys here, they do one good thing to me. They get me out every day, especially in bad days. The donkeys love to be fed, especially when it's cold and wet and frosty. And you come down here and you always get a good welcome, as you see. And if it's cold and frosty, it is even better. And it's lovely to see them eating and being happy and being so welcoming. We have roughly 200 milk cows now at present, but the farm and the herd are now leased. We don't run it anymore. The only animals that belong to the monastery now are Bill and Bob. I think they've made a vow of stability here, I hope.
When you look for a place for stability, you look for the place of your resurrection. That's the place where you will become more and more alive.
Stability. Well, I don't see it as something that's imposed on me. It's something that I chose. And I would see this place as my home. And I want to see out my life here. And I'm not exactly looking forward to dying just yet. But not yet, no. I haven't got around thinking of that yet, but I think there's plenty of room for me. I have seen a lot of men die here and be buried here since I came, and every funeral is a good homily. We are making plans for the future, and we're hoping that we will survive, and that monastic life will continue here, and that this place will continue to be a place of prayer for monks, for those who come here, a place of hospitality, a place of peace, a place where people can come and stay and feel at home here.
This community of Trappist Cistercian monks, now greatly reduced in number, are known for their warm welcome. Pilgrims and those attending retreats come in great numbers from all over the world to unwind and to go hiking in the abundant wild countryside. Father Dennis Luke's kindness and humor make him the ideal guest master of the monastery.
I'm very pleased that you came here today, and I hope you come back again many more times. And before you go, I would like to give you a blessing. It is not my blessing, it's God's blessing. If you like, I'm just the postman. I'm passing you on God's blessing. May Almighty God bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Go in the peace of Christ. Thanks be to God. And in fact, the very first time I ever came to Millery was when my parents brought me here at the age of 8. I have a very clear memory of that. Maybe that was the first step in my coming here to stay. Oh, what is the desert for me? Well, the monastery kind of is seen as the desert where people come and leave everything. And to me, the desert is a place where of growth, of new life. I suppose going into the desert is leaving a lot of baggage, leaving a lot of things we don't need, and very often the lighter you travel, it's easier and the better you travel.
My vocation would have come from solitude, As a child, I loved solitude. I loved the trees and the woods. I loved the sea and the mountains. And I would spend an awful lot of time on my own, very happy being alone, but also searching for something, not knowing what. The desert is the place where there is mystery. It's the place where you are alone, but you are not alone. There is something calling you, and perhaps it's going back to my childhood, to this initial experience of the call. And I've discovered that the monastery, the entering to a monastery, to that desert, is responding to that original call. It just took me a long time to get here. Obedience, chastity, and poverty. Poverty is just definitely not a problem. I mean, poverty is easy. Obedience and chastity would be a tight pull, because obedience is ever so subtle. It's not just doing something. Obedience is a really letting go. It's a constant dying to self. It's very profound. So you can work on a very superficial level, but if you're going to work on a deep level, obedience is difficult. And being a man, being human, celibacy is definitely difficult. I think in the truth of my heart, I was meant to be celibate in the sense of to live alone, but that doesn't stop you from the whole sexuality of life, because you are still a man, right? Monks being witnesses of the invisible, yes, I would think we are witnesses to the mystery, that we have chosen to seek the mystery. For me, I seek the mystery and I give up nothing, because the mystery is calling me and attracting me, and nothing else has value. And life is mystery. God is mystery.
It's very peaceful and it's quiet. It's far away from the road. You don't hear a lot, so you can really connect with God and connect with nature.
The monks are lovely, and it's just a nice quiet place, you know, just if your life's getting hectic, you just come here and you can just unwind.
I don't think a monk would be for me. I'd hope to do something in engineering or building or some sort, or maybe even teaching, but no, I don't think I'd be a monk.
I believe that it'll stay open. If we're lucky, you know, the number of monks will rise. And I believe that there's a lot of people who are actually genuinely interested in coming here, and that it can be a great crowd here when there wants to be.
Yeah, I think it'll stay open as well. I believe that people in our school will become monks, and I think it'll stay open.
One, two, three.
The monastery of Our Lady of Iverski lies on a small island between Moscow and St. Petersburg. Its basilica houses an icon of the Virgin, which holds an important place in Russian hearts. According to tradition, it has performed many miracles, and that's why so many of the faithful come here to pray. A small community of 5 monks and 4 brothers carries out religious duties in this remote monastery that the Soviets had made into a holiday camp. After the fall of communism, it underwent restoration work and was given back to the church. Today is January 7th, Christmas Day in Russia.
I come from Korolev, near to Moscow. I've been coming here since 1998. Why? Because when I came here for the first time, I heard Father Boris sing. When I heard the choir, I just loved their singing. Father Boris suggested that I join the choir. I accepted. I sang when I was a child, but not in a religious choir. So I took lessons from Master Kustovsky. I studied philology, so really I should be good at languages. That's why I asked how many languages you know. But I can't seem to make myself do anything other than sing. So what I do, I should be teaching languages given my background in philology. The monastery is like an isolated but friendly home. It's like being at home, but in a slightly different way. Why aren't you singing, Arseny? Let's sing both parts.
We are at the monastery of Our Lady of Iversky in Valdai, in the Novgorod region between St. Petersburg and Moscow. This is the corridor of the Cathedral of the Domitian. It was the first basilica built in Russia with this type of architecture, with a gallery going all the way around the church. When my spiritual father suggested that I become a monk, he immediately recommended this monastery because it had just been returned to the church. In fact, I no longer had any other option. I just wanted to live in a monastery because in society there was nothing left that interested me. I had achieved all I had wanted to achieve. Life in the monastery is unearthly, and to be able to stick with it, you have to attach yourself to God. You can only get there through prayer.
This icon is called Our Lady Gate of Heaven, and it's one of Russia's favorite icons, the most venerated in all Russia. It was painted in 1654. The icon was given to the military to encourage the soldiers at the front, in particular during the Crimean War against Turkey. This icon really is miraculous. During the Soviet Revolution from 1917 to 1991, Churches, cathedrals, and monasteries were all closed down. The Christian religion suffered a great deal. It really was a miracle that this icon survived. To be honest, the monk's cross is a heavy burden to bear. I took my vows of chastity, poverty, and obedience in 2000. These vows are for life. The most difficult is celibacy. It's the most painful, especially for young people. Now that I'm old, it's easier.
Coming on a pilgrimage to Valdai is like heaven for me. Patriarch Nikon said, "Coming here is like touching paradise."
My name is Arseny. I live in the town of Korolev, and I'm 14 years old. I go to the School of Music in Korolev. I am hoping to take the entrance exam for the Academy of Music at the end of the year. I'm a pianist, and I've been ringing the bells here since I was 10 years old. Sometimes I copy what some of the teachers do, but usually when I'm bell ringing, I improvise. My mother is also a musician. She went to the same school as me in Korolev. I want to be a conductor and composer. My favorite composer is Joseph Haydn.
Слава Тебе, Христе Божий, пование наше, слава Тебе, и памяти грады и роды.
The colors of religious garments have a mystical as well as a spiritual importance. Each color is associated with an episode in the life of the church. White. This is worn for the feasts of our Lord, such as Christmas and the Transfiguration. We wear yellow on normal days. Red is worn for Easter and for the commemoration of martyrs. Blue is worn to celebrate the feasts of the Virgin, such as the icon of Kazan, of Vladimir, or of Iversky. The color green is worn in memory of great monks who left the world and chose to live in the desert, such as Saint Anthony the Great. We wear black on days of mourning and during the period of Lent, just before Easter. The colors are all linked to the mystical history of the church.
Thank you.